Hey guys, what's up? Blaine Cooper here. We're at the mine in Montana, and there's a dispute between the U.S. Forest Service and the miners here, and we're here armed peacefully to help defend the miners from the government as they are in legal standing, and we are using legal means and peaceful means to find a resolution to this problem. But I'm going to let this gentleman here kind of elaborate and tell you exactly what's going on here, as he's one of the miners, so he would be the most credible person that you can hear the information from. So I'm going to let him speak, and go ahead.
Thanks, Blaine. My name is Todd Fisher. I'm a long-standing friend. I'm here on behalf of the White Hope Mine in Lincoln, Montana, at the Mike Course Mining Complex. I have two good friends that are the owners of the mining complex. They're a partner. One is George Cornick. The other is Phil Napo. George is going to be 83 years old here in a couple of days, right here at the end of August 2015. He's been on this mountain since he was a young man, basically born and raised at this mine. He was born and his family has owned property before a certain agency by the name of the U.S. Forest Service even became an agency in the United States. This man has been trying for many years to mine his property and his claim at the White Hope Mine with nothing but brick walls to run into every time he tries to comply with the agency known as the U.S. Forest Service. They find another thing to stop him from mining his property.
Now, what I understand, not to interrupt you here, but just to kind of elaborate a little bit on how he was also supposed to meet some members of the Forest Service, I understand.
That is correct.
And they never showed up.
Correct, Blaine. Phil Napo, George's partner, had a doctor's appointment out of town, which everything is out of town here in Lincoln, and called me from Great Falls, which is 96 miles away, if I would take George and meet with the Forest Service officials about this plan of operation. I went in with George, knowing that we had to be diligent and be there on time. We went in early. We sat and waited for the officials that we were to meet with. We asked when the men were going to show up. The gals behind the counter told us that, well, they were well aware that the meeting was here and here today at this time. So George and I sat for 2.5 hours waiting for these gentlemen, later to find out that they were up at the mining complex without any knowledge to George and Phil.
I also understand, again, that this is over a building that they want to destroy, which they have no right to. The U.S. Forest Service does not have right because they are not under the jurisdiction that was passed in, was it the 70s?
Actually, it was granted, this actually was granted in 1864 before the 1872 mining laws became in effect.
Okay.
So this property of George's is basically his, and he really doesn't even have to comply with the rules and regulations. He has chosen to do so. We went into this meeting waiting for these men to come so we could sit down and comply with their regulations that they wanted. We had a previous meeting to this where he was basically threatened. They told George that because he had put up a building on his own property that they were going to come up and remove that building and basically run him off the property because he did not have this building on his plan of operation, which they will not sign. So these gentlemen are here to help defend this man's rights, and we need to welcome them with open arms.
Now, for purposes of, as you know, when we were at the Sugar Pine Mine, media was trying to tell us that the owners didn't want us there, which wasn't true, and that we were crazy guys with guns trying to enforce our dictatorship. That was another interesting thing that the media says. But just to clarify, so people know, the miners do want us here.
This is correct. George and Phil were actually nervous about even contacting you guys due to the fact George and Phil for the last 8 years have tried to comply with every rule and regulation. They have talked to multiple agencies about help. They've contacted the Lewis and Clark County Sheriff's Department. They've kind of let it be George and Phil's call on what happens up here. They have not stepped in to help. George and Phil felt as if they had run into the last brick wall and they had run out of options. So they asked myself and my wife, Barbie, to come up last Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago actually, and discuss this last option that they had available, which was to bring the Oath Keepers to Lincoln, Montana, and how we felt about it. Well, dear God, we didn't know anything about you gentlemen until we started doing a little research. George and Phil were scared to death to actually make the phone call to have you come here because of what might happen in our community.
As we understand, the community is very democratic.
Yes, it is. And I don't want to label people Republican or Democrat. I just want to label people as Americans, and I want people to stand up and know what their rights are.
And generally, this is what this is this isn't about Republican or Democrat. This isn't a part of a liberal or a extremism idea. This is, we are defending our neighbors and using the full force of the Constitution under that we are in full legal right to be on that mine armed to defend from any opposing force until you guys have your due process under the Constitution of the United States, correct? That
is correct. Now, if you gentlemen would not have been here before the Forest Service got on site and tore that building down, they would have come in and tore that building down, and then there was nothing we were going to be able to do. This is the reason why we brought you guys in. Thank God you're here, because now we're going to get some help. I just watched an 83-year-old man take about 1,000-ton lead weight off of his shoulders. He looks 5 years younger to me right now. I just want to thank you guys.
You're welcome. Everyone, I hope you're listening to this. Please share this video, get this report out. We will continue to be here until they get their day in court under the Constitution and due process of the United States, and they get their due diligence. And if you would like to come and help, we can always use more volunteers and people from around the country. We'll be here as long as it takes so they can get their justice. This is Blaine Cooper.
Todd Fisher.
Thank you. You guys get this video out. I'm out.